We're all anticipating the first full moon of 2024. It's around the 9th and 10th of February, and it's called the Year of the Dragon. And the reason why it's special is because to have a wood dragon is actually a 60-year cycle. And 60-year cycles relates to the planetary movements of two cycles of Saturn, two lots of 30 years, and equals 5 rotations of Jupiter, 5 12s are 60. So there's an astrological relationship between this wood dragon, because it's going to take another 60 years. And what I've decided to show dragon embedded with the symbolism of the wood. So we see the trees and the mountains and the crystals. So the crystals represent good technology, because as the world is evolving, we're heading towards a dark chapter where technology is being manipulated. So that's the negative form of dragon, because dragon represents power and nobleness and honor and success and ambition. But the negative side is when the technology, which is all based on crystalline nanotechnology, is abused. So what I've got in the drawing is I'm showing that there are the mountains that we connect with, but you can see these antennas. So these antennas represent like the towers of the internet. So we're all heading into an internet age, but we don't want to be lost and consumed. So dragon is teaching us not just to connect with nature and not just to fly, but dragon is teaching us to learn how to go in to the core of our being and actually recreate our own mastery through the DNA within us. So that's why I've got this symbolism of the DNA, because the snake energy here is symbolic of the dragon energy. And it's quite interesting when you look at all the civilizations in the world, especially China. They adored and worshipped. They built whole temples dedicated to dragon. And like I expressed before, this is the connection to ancient Sumeria, Mesopotamia, where the sky gods, because this is the symbolism of air, the sky gods came and they created the first human race on Earth. So we're actually kind of all like hybrids that have been genetically engineered and mastered. So we're half human, half gods in the sense. So dragon is the bridge between the worlds. So we're learning here how to connect with our DNA mastery. And a lot of people now today are feeling what are called Ascension symptoms. They're going through intense energies where they could be tuning into all the adverse effects of technology and radiation, and people are wanting to go back to nature. So that's what dragon is teaching us, is to climb the ladder, to transform, think big, do your career, but don't forget your connection to nature. Because what NASA have been predicting, solar flares, I'm talking about Ascension symptoms. A lot of NASA in March are predicting that every 11.1 years we have what's called a solar burp. It's like intense radiation that can take out satellites and towers and internet. So while this is all happening, we still have to learn to find our connection, our center, because we're immersed in all these cycles. So we're talking about a 60-year cycle here, and we're learning how to stay within our own cycles relevant to nature. So this is connecting us to the earth grid. The symbolism of dragon as it flies around the earth is that it's connecting us to all the sacred sites, to the Leylines. The Aboriginals had stories about the Dreamtime, which was all about the song lines, where they could travel around the globe and see the future and the past, because they were multidimensional beings. So that's what I mean by the DNA mastery. While we're talking about the cycles and the 60-year cycles, because we know that every 12 years there's 12 signs of the Zodiac, and every 5 years there's like fire, earth, air, metal, wood. So 5 12s are 60. So what happened, the last time we had a wood dragon was in 1964. And if you look back on the history on our planet, what happened 60 years ago, well, in Alaska, we had the biggest recorded ever earthquake, and it was at a magnitude of 9.2, which is the highest we've ever had. I'm not actually aware what damage was done, but in terms of measuring the biggest earthquake, that happened exactly 60 years ago. So I'm not predicting that we're going to have another earthquake. I'm just saying get ready for change. And when change happens, we're also centered in our being. So the reason why I'm talking about being centered is that there are 2 tarot cards. This was done by Karina Collins. I was just looking at Karina Collins' site, and she's saying that the two tarot cards that would best represent the year of the dragon is the magician, because magician, you can see here, has the 4 elements, and the 5th element is spirit. This represents power, control, and wisdom. But we've got to learn also that the negative form of dragon is where you're using your power to manipulate and to control others. So that's a warning. And the other tarot card with the great magician who manifests is the sword, the Knight of Swords, because swords represents the air. We know dragon flies through the air, and the air is all about our higher intuition. So this is about charging ahead and being determined to achieve your goals. So that's pretty much the symbolism of the dragon. And I went and bought myself a nice little dragon. This is a dragon jewelry. You clip it here and it comes out. So what I'm showing you here is that the symbol of the dragon, when it bites its own tail, it actually forms the ouroboros. It was one of the early symbols of the Sumerian legends, the flying dragon that could create the 60-year cycles by biting its tail. This is perhaps one of the earliest symbols I've ever known. So I was just wearing this today to tune in that dragon is in the architecture, it's in the jewelry, it's in the clothing, it's all around us in our world. So this is the time for us to fly and to ride our dragon.